Hello and welcome. So for today, I will talk about the topic on interpreting measures of position. So this is a topic under statistics and a simple topic. So first is what are measures of position? So a measure of position is the determination of a single data value compared to the entire group of data values. So this would mean the position of one data in a group of data. So for example, what is the position of the number 5 in between 1 to 50? So there are mainly three measures of position to be discussed, which are quartiles, deciles, and percentiles. So let's start with the quartiles. So quartiles is a measure of position in which a single data's position is measured based on which quartile of the group it falls under. A group of data is divided into four equal parts, so that's why it's a quartile, and the measures look at which division it falls under. So, example, this is the entire group of data. We divide it by 4. That means it's under 25%. So, first quartile. This would mean that this is under the second quartile. This would be in the third quartile. And the last one would be in the fourth quartile. So, to further illustrate this example, let's have a problem, a small little problem as an example. So, let's say Anna has a mathematics test that is, she says it's difficult, and there are 200 test takers, including her. Her score is 15 out of 20, and her score belongs to the first quartile. Now, her score belonging to the first quartile, that means she is under the first 25%. That would mean that there are 75% that scored higher than her, and the 25% remaining scored lower than her. Because Anna is at the 25% of the test takers and she is at the first quartile, there are 75% of the people that rank higher than her, and she is at the 25%. Now, for the decile, this is in a similar vein as the first one. Instead of dividing it into four equal parts, the entire group of data is divided into 10 equal parts. So this refers to the score point where the distribution of data is divided into 10 equal parts. The cells determine values for 10% to 90% of the data, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 of the data. Now, you can illustrate this here. So this is the first quarter, so first decile, second decile, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. So let's have another example for this one. So Anthony is a secretary in one big company in Metro Manila. His salary is in the seventh decile. Should Anthony be glad about his salary or not? Now, the problem states that his salary is at the seventh decile. That would be equivalent to 70%. Because his salary is in the seventh decile, that would mean that he is at the top 70% of the company, and 70% of the people is lower in terms of salary than his, and the remaining 30% has a higher salary than him. So his salary is at the 70% of the company, meaning only 30% of the people there has a higher salary than him. And his salary is higher than 70% people of the company. Now changing the seventh decile to maybe 8 or 9 would also change the answer, obviously, to let's say 80%, 20%, or 90% and 10%. Now for the last one is the percentile. Similar again with the first two, instead this one divides the entire group of data by 100. So this refers to the score point where the distribution data is divided into 100 equal parts. The percentile determines the value of 1%, 2%, and until 99% of the data. Similarly, this is how we visualize it, but this is similar in the decile as it shows by 10 because it would be hard to show it individually per percentage. So just to make it clear, let's have an example for percentile again. In a group of 20, you and some grade 10 students are ranked according to height. So you are at the 80th percentile. How many students are taller than you? Granting that nobody is as tall as you. That means that nobody is as tall as you. You are the single lone holder of the 80th percentile. Now, to get what is asked in this problem, we need to find how many are taller than you. So you are at the 80th percentile, and meaning that the remaining 20% is taller than you. Now, how many? We can just easily solve that by multiplying the 20% with the total number of data, which is a group of 20. That means that 20 times 20%, that would be around 3. Or we could also do it this way. 80th percentile corresponds to 80%. So that means you are taller than 80% of the people there. So how many is 80% of the group of 20? 80% times 20, that would be 16 students. That means that you are taller than 16 students in the group, including you, that would be 17. Now there are only 20 students. That would mean that there are only 3 students that are taller than you. 20 minus 17, 3 students that are taller than you. I hope that is clear, but so that you can understand further to this topic, let's have one last example. In a group of 55 examinees taking a 50-item test, Rachel obtained a score of 38. Interpret her scores in different measures of position. So first, let's try to interpret her score in a quartile position. Quartile position divides the value by 4, meaning that 12.5 are the breakpoints in our quarters. So 0 to 12.5 is our first quartile. So 12.5 plus 12.5, that would be 25, and 25 would be our second quartile. Now add another 12.5 to that. That would be 37.5, and that would be our breakpoint for the third quartile. And lastly is 50, which is our fourth quartile. Now let's look at Rachel's score. Rachel's score is 38, and 38 would be between 37.5 and 50, which means that her score belongs to the fourth quartile. Now for decile, this is similar in essence as quartile. Instead of dividing it by 4, we divide it by 10, and 50 divided by 10 is 5. Therefore, for the deciles of the first decile to 10th decile, would mean a factor of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, so on and so forth. Now, similarly again, let's look at which breakpoints Rachel's score falls under. So Rachel's score falls under 35 and 40. 35 is the 7th place, and 40 is the 8th decile, which means that Rachel's score falls under the 8th decile. And finally, for the percentile. Now, for percentile, we divide the data by 100. That would mean that each breakpoint is 0.5. So just to make things quicker, we can just divide 38 by 0.5, and we can get what percentile 38 is. And from the result of that, it means that 38 is at the 76th percentile, which means that her score is at the 76th percentile of the entire class. So another method that we can use to solve this kind of faster is just dividing the data that we have over the entirety of the data, or the maximum of the data. So that's just simply 38 over 50, which is 0.76, and 0.76 corresponds to 76%, or the 76%. And that's how you can interpret the measures of position of data. So thank you for listening, and have a nice day.